some moments in life that upon reflecting back on, they fill you with magic and wonder and have you ask a deeper question. Am I who I believe I am? Or even, am I on the right track? This and many other questions is what we're going to cover in today's exciting episode. Hello and welcome to the High Performance Consciousness Podcast. My name is Matthew Paddy, and again, I will be your host for today's episode, which is titled The Day I Met a Real-Life Sufi Alchemist. So let me start by painting a little bit of a picture for you so that it sets the scene and allows us to dive in to having a conversation around the curiosity of who we really are and what we are really capable of. So it goes back a number of years now, pretty much around 7 or 8 years. Can't remember the year exactly, maybe 2012, maybe 2013. And a good friend of mine in Melbourne was sitting in a prominent hotel in the bar area, having a Christmas drink. I think it was Christmas Eve. And as we were sitting there having a bit of a chat, typically I would say something in the company of my friend, like, do you notice that person? Or don't you think that this is odd? Something like that, that piques curiosity. And the reason I asked that at this point was there was a gentleman sitting to my right, about 10 meters away, sitting on his own, curly golden hair, a moustache, the same color, really youthful skin, a pink polo shirt and chino pants with slip-on shoes, gold watch and various rings, one on each ring finger, on his left and his right hand. And I paint the picture because he was deep in thought. He was making some notes. And he just struck me as different. Struck me as different for the reason I'm about to share with you. And you can see where I'm going with this. So as I said to my good friend, interesting, don't you think? And he goes, for what reason? Super curious, love him to bits. And I said, I don't know. It just feels like an anomaly. And these feelings have been with me for many, many years. From my, 7, 8, 9, I was interested in lots of different things of the supernatural and the occult world and mysteries of the unknown and all that sort of stuff. But in my teens, as my intuitive abilities began to develop and maybe strengthen, and I became more curious, I noticed anomalies. And anomalies piqued my interest. I cannot define what anomaly is, other than to say that I became curious on something. And so this was one of those days, another in a string of incredible events. So, having said that, there's an anomaly. And as I walked past to go to the bathroom, I just noticed that there was a different energy around him. I can't explain it. There was a different energy. Again, an anomaly. The skin bag of emotion that he was residing in, this being, was different. Really youthful, really vibrant, looks young, but wasn't 20. Had to be in his 50s, at least, maybe late 50s. And so anyway, coming back from the bathroom, I actually saw him on the way back to the bar. And we had a bit of a chat. I don't know how we started the conversation, but he said something, and then I said something. And he goes, oh, what do you do? And at the time, I, along with a business partner, was running a social media company. And I shared that with him with great pride and enthusiasm and almost a little bit of ego, like, oh, this is what I'm doing. This is how good I am. It makes me cringe thinking about it back then. And he just looks at me and he says, that's not what you do. And you can imagine straight away, my curiosity meter peaked, went right off the scale. I went, well, what does this mean? So he made his way to do his thing and then came back several minutes later. And he called us both over, my friend and I, and we sat with him and had a bit of a chat. And as we were talking, finding out more about what he's doing and what I'm doing and what my friend was doing with his own company at the time, then we started to learn that he's in a very unique line of work. And he didn't give a lot away, but reading between the notes from what he did share, which was he was a trained, professional, bar-registered lawyer. He was also in deep in Ayurvedic medicine and music and many other different fields. And I found that so intriguing. And he was masterful. He came across very masterful, confident in a humble way, but confident and assured of himself in his capacity. And so we had a Christmas chat and all the rest, and we ended up parting ways, and my friend and I went our way and he went his. But he did share with me his details. And that little boy inside of me that wanted to know more, that wanted to get to the bottom of that statement or comment that he had made. No, that's not what you do. That's not who you are. I followed him up several days later, and over the coming months, he and I spent a little bit of time on the phone, toing and froing, finding out more about each other. And in the line of question that I had for him was, what does he do that makes things seem so different? What does he actually do? And he went on to share with me that he has high-profile people coming to him all year, paying large sums of money to invest in their health. He restores them to their natural state. Now, at the beginning, I had the thought that maybe you're having right now, which is that's impossible. Or how can someone claim something so bold? But still, that little boy inside me was so curious. I wanted to know how. So he went on to tell me that essentially he had anyone who wanted to work with him needed to invest a year with him. And in doing so, they gave him the executive power to their estate, so that the outside world, any disruptive influence, could not sabotage the process of healing and regeneration. And I thought that was genius. I could feel it inside of me thinking, oh, how does he get away with that? But as a lawyer and as a very accomplished, as I learned, metaphysician, he knew what it took to evolve. He knew what it took to change one's destiny, to unwind a distorted DNA pattern and a distorted, diseased experience. And in doing so, his clients had to commit to 1 year with him. He was the executor of their will and the executor of their estate. Therefore, he had the reins. His clients consumed nothing other than his prescription, mentally, emotionally, physically. And again, that might bring up some questions for you. Like, wow, that is a big trust to place in someone else's hands. How do you know that he's not a fraud? I continued to ask him, how long have you been doing this? And he said, oh, quite a while. And then goes on to say, how old do you think I am? Crazy question, right? I went on to say, maybe 57, maybe 59, I don't know, maybe 60. And he goes, well, I'm not going to tell you my chronological age, but my skin and my system and my youthfulness is that of a 25-year-old. And I basically dumbfounded, said, how are you doing that? So he is using Ayurvedic medicine as well as other Sufi alchemical practices to unwind the history of, or the trauma and drama of his client's history. And a lot of these people, his clients, obviously are fairly well-to-do individuals, very prominent figures, which he did not disclose, and I did not ask for that very reason, out of privacy and respect. However, the conversations we did have were around how to transcend the self, the concept of the self, and to commit yourself to 1 year. Commit yourself to the journey and the exploration of 1 year for building and growing a new self. And I found that intriguing, and the process of unwinding in the first few months so that you can then clear the slate, clear the debris out of the way, and then you build upon a new, fresh, fertile foundation. And his results are astronomical. People literally about to keel over from coronary heart problems or blocked arteries, stress, obesity, whatever it may be, typically in the corporate and the high-end world where imbalance is rife because of the pursuit of power or money or organizational scaling, whatever it's going to be. And so a couple of conversations in, I braved up enough to ask him, remember that time where we walked past each other in the hallway? And I shared what I thought I did with pride. And you said, that's not who you are. That's not what you do. What did you mean by that? There was a long pause. It seemed like an eternity. My fingers were twitching, my toes were twitching, thinking, have I overstepped the mark? Is it my time to hear this? Am I ready for it? Do I really want to hear this? And so I'm sharing this story with you so that you can relate to it too. You can relate to it because you have found someone, you have come across someone or had someone enter or cross your path in your life. I guarantee it. That has piqued your interest, that you may have observed and just unconsciously considered as an anomaly, something different about them. I want you to take note because that's why I'm sharing this story with you, so that you can benefit and you can read into it what you will and relate it to your own world, your own life, your own experience. So I purposely just kept you hanging there. Did you feel that? Hanging. Gosh, why did he do that? Come on, Matt, get on with it. I can hear you saying it right now. I want to hear what he said. Well, after a long pause, he just looked at me. Now, I think we're on Skype or whatever. Maybe, I don't think Zoom was available back then. And he just said, what you do right now, what you do right now and what you believe you do and who you believe you are right now is a transition piece. You are transitioning from one realm to the next, one life experience to the next. He said, so this really is just a season for you, maybe even a reason, season, or a lifetime. So this might be a season, and this season is to build you back up. This season is to remind you of what you enjoy and what you prefer. This season is to give you a contrary perspective to what you really want to experience and create in the world. And you can imagine from the beginning, as soon as he opened his lips and started sharing that with me, again, piquing my curiosity, wow, where is he going with this? So does that mean that this company that I'm running right now is not to be, that I'm actually withholding and holding myself back? Am I distracting myself? So he must have picked up on that. And he said, do not judge where you are right now. It's inevitable that you will find your place. It's inevitable that you will return to that which you are here to do. Interesting. And so trusting my intuition as he's talking, what came so quickly to the surface in my awareness was the same. You are a metaphysician. And I've been hiding. I'd been hiding for years and years and years, pushing it down. Meanwhile, my curiosity continued to be piqued through the books, the courses, the interactions, the career choices, the travel, the people I'd met, the relationships I'd had. It'd been piqued. So I'd been pushing it down and hiding my true self, my true nature, my true worth, as it were. And so as we went on, he explained to me that the reason, season, and lifetime are all functions of evolution, and that we need to press up against a new reality in order to experience its counterpoint. We need to experience perspective so that we can say with our hand on our heart that that was for me or was not for me, and I shall decide and do decide that it will not continue or follow me into my preferred future. So we spoke about alchemical things, quantum things, spoke about the function of the body, because my background for 20 years was a physiologist. So I started in health. I started at the body and the mind, and then going to the level of DNA. And as I've said in previous podcasts, or maybe some of the earlier ones, then going to the quantum level, where everything is energy, because everything is, without it having to be described as such. And I wanted him to continue talking about me. Of course you would. Tell me more. Tell me more. He continued to ask me questions. Continued to ask me questions that transcended time, which means transcended this lifetime. See, I'm getting tripped up on it just remembering. Transcending lifetimes. Sounds weird, kooky, right? And maybe some of you don't believe in alternative lifetimes, but I do. Doesn't mean that we are fractured. Doesn't mean anything other than the possibility that there are other potentials that exist as us, as the one self, as the one true self, operating and experiencing life at different levels, in different times, so to speak. So he asked me questions, and essentially he is pulling out of me knowns, confirmations that I've had throughout my life. Did this happen? When did you start getting interested in this? What happened at this point in your life? What was a major turning point that led to this outcome? And on and on and on it went. And I could see he was relishing in it. And I felt like an alchemist student. I was the apprentice. It's essentially what it is. And he was my wake-up call. He was that little finger in the center of my forehead that said, I know who you are. I know what you're capable of. And so from that moment on, I began to dive more deeply into the school of thought, into the school of energy, into the school of life, far grander than that which vibrates at the physical. Far grander. And my realization was that we are all alchemists. We are all alchemical by nature. It just depends on our realization of that, rather, depends on our ability and our curiosity and our commitment to exploring who it is we really are and what it is we really want to create. So you can be a nurse, you can be at home, you can be working in a bank, you could be working on the farm. Does not matter. Every person has alchemical natures. Every single one of us. So you can bring who you really are to the surface and to express it in a more fulfilling way by looking at significant turning points, events, and points of interest, points of curiosity in your life, because they are all little glimpses. Little glimpses. And from the conversations with Billy, is his name, Billy. That led me on an incredible journey to step forward into my full potential, to understand that there are no limits, and the only limits are those that which we place upon ourselves, the world around us, and that which is deemed possible by our desires, the level of desire that we seek to experience and create in the world. So, huge turning point for me. And that would actually be one of many that I've had over the years. But this one particular one with Billy, the Sufi Alchemist, as we traveled forward in time, back in time in our conversations, and deeper into the now moment, understanding that it does not matter where you find yourself right now. What you see and what that which is reflected back at you can be changed. It can be upgraded. Your base metal of lead can be elevated to gold. That's the key. That is the alchemist within. And we are all that. So I'll leave you with this episode to think about, to ponder on, and to consider. And if you haven't already gone to matthewpaddy.com and registered your interest for Mind School, then I highly encourage you to do that. Mind School is a free group for business owners, entrepreneurs, conscious leaders who really want to start breaking limits, build confidence in who they really are, and to 10x their results. So go to matthewpaddy.com, register. We're about to launch the free group very, very soon. And this being the 50th episode, which I didn't bring up at the beginning because I didn't want any distractions. I wanted you to keep focused, keep your intrigue. 50 episodes. I'm thanking you for your support, your attendance, but most importantly, by applying what I'm sharing with you, because there will be a great percentage that will listen, but will not apply, and therefore will not experience the results. And those of you that do listen and do apply, you will. It's inevitable. You will experience your desired results. That's the promise of the field. So I'll leave you with that. From me here to wherever you are in the cosmos, dream a better dream. And remember, it's all you, baby. See you in the field.